You want a quick market update for the South Bay and Palos Verdes? Let's do it. What's going on, everyone? My name's Tony Butita. I'm a local realtor here in Palos Verdes in the South Bay. So in this video, we're gonna do kind of just a current market conditions and market update for the Palos Verdes in the South Bay area. One thing I want to say about YouTube is the benefit of doing long form content like this, and the goal for a lot of these videos is actually to create what's called or known as evergreen content. Evergreen meaning that whether you watch this week, so today is Sunday, February 18th. So if you watch this in a week, in a month, or in a year, or even 5 years, the idea with evergreen content is that it's still applicable, it's still helpful, it's still pertinent. Today's video is going to be less of that, while some of the maybe strategies and tips might still be applicable in the future. Probably will be, depending on market conditions. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's currently going on in the market here in the South Bay and in Palos Verdes. And the reason I want to do that is that last Sunday was the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl is kind of known as, forgive the pun, but like kind of the kickoff to the real estate season. So if you look at charts for markets across the country, kind of no matter where you are, typically what you'll see is that starting after the Super Bowl, activity real estate wise will ramp up going into the spring and summer, will start to die off a little bit in the fall, and then pretty much right around Thanksgiving is when things really die down. So between Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl, when you have like late November, December, January, it's not like nothing happens, but you'll see a lot less activity, less listings, less closings, less buyers looking. And that's gonna pretty much be true wherever you are. So I wanted to do this video now because since last week was the Super Bowl, and we are already seeing an uptick in listings here in PV and throughout the South Bay, and we're going to continue to see that. We've been in a really kind of low inventory environment for the last year due to interest rates, and while rates are still a little bit high, not as low as many buyers are hoping and sellers, there is an uptick in activity already this week, and we're certainly going to see that going forward. So if I'm a buyer right now and I'm thinking I want to buy a house in 2024, or I want to move to Palos Verdes or Redondo Beach or Torrance or Hermosa or Manhattan, you know, what should I be thinking, or what am I possibly thinking right now? One thing that a lot of buyers are still thinking is, you know, rates are just a little too high. Things are hovering right now like in the 6% range, maybe 6.5, maybe high sixes, maybe low sevens. That's something you should already, if you're planning on buying this year, be talking to your lender about, because it's going to depend on a lot of different factors for you and your situation. But a lot of buyers are still thinking, you know, if I could just get down into the fives, then I'd be ready to go. And if you are in a position where you absolutely cannot buy a home until rates come down a little bit, then by all means wait. But there are a few things you should probably consider if that is your current plan or strategy. A lot of people are obviously waiting for rates to come down because it means a lower monthly payment. So let's just use an example. Let's say you're trying to buy a home, and let's just say you're trying to buy a home for 1.8 million. And at the current rates, like let's say a 6.75, it is very difficult for you to do that monthly payment. And you're thinking, you know, I'll wait, and as soon as I can get like a 5.5 or a 5.75, then I can afford my $1.8 million home. The thing to consider is this: the amount of people who are also waiting for rates to come down into the fives is in the thousands. And I don't mean across the country, I just mean even just here in the South Bay. There are likely thousands of buyers who are waiting for that to happen. So you need to consider that when that does happen, if that does happen, And projections for most people in the industry is that might be like in the latter part of this year. No one has a crystal ball, that could be totally wrong, but let's say it does happen in the middle of summer. The rest of the year might be absolutely crazy. And all of a sudden, it's competitive right now, where we're seeing 3, 5, 10 offers on homes already. If rates drop a full point by the middle of summer, that might mean 15, 20, 30 offers on homes in some circumstances. So your $1.8 million house at that point might sell for 1.9 or even up to 2 million. So the math you should be sitting down and doing and maybe talking to your lender about is, okay, what's my monthly payment look like at X price right now with the current mortgage rate I can get versus if the house sells for 50, 100, and sometimes even 150 or $200,000 more with a lower interest rate, while I feel and while I believe I'm going to get a lower payment due to the lower mortgage rate, if the house sells for so much more, is that still true? That's the calculation you should be running, because what's happening right now in this market, the reason we're seeing it get so competitive already is that many buyers have kind of figured out, if I try to buy in 6 months or a year, it's going to be not only very difficult to get into escrow, it's not necessarily going to be cheaper because it's going to be so competitive. And when you have multiple offers and bidding wars, that means pricing goes up. You're going to pay a lot more for the same properties. So that's just one thing to consider. It's middle of February. Things are already getting very competitive, and a lot of buyers have already made that decision that we're going to jump in now, knowing that we're going to get a higher rate than we could probably in 6 months, but we'll just refinance in the future when we're able to, so that we're sitting in the property we want, while everybody else is running around trying to beat out 10, 20, 30 other offers. Because when there are thousands of people in a market who are essentially looking at the same properties, many of those people are going to get to Christmas in 2024 and still not own a home because they just couldn't, they didn't get their offers accepted, and they might have put bids on 10 different homes. So if I'm a buyer right now, these are the things I'm thinking about. Am I absolutely prohibited to buy right now due to mortgage rates? Or am I prohibiting myself because my preference is that I would want a lower rate? Are you costing yourself money or are you saving yourself money? If you're truly saving yourself money, then wait. But you might look back on it in 6 months to a year and think, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have done, at least tried, or put myself in a position to do so. So the last thing I'll say on this is, you also might be thinking, when rates come down, I'll talk to a lender, I'll get my stuff in order so I'm ready to go. Just understand that you can wait to talk to someone and get everything in order, but there are literally thousands of people who have already talked to a lender, already have their pre-approval, already have their numbers ready to go, that are ready to make the move when it's in their best interest. So you're already behind those people who are taking those actions, and they're kind of one step ahead of you already. So that's kind of the things I'm thinking about right now if I'm a buyer in this market, planning on buying in 2024. If I'm a seller, what do you think sellers are thinking right now? So people who are not in a hurry to sell their home, maybe they want to sell this year, but they're not rushing to get their homes on the market. That's probably okay. If I'm a seller, what I'm thinking right now is, do I put my home on the market now or should I wait? Now, one thing I want to look at is what's going on in my neighborhood. Are there 5 other homes just like mine that are sitting, that aren't really getting a lot of attention? Like, what's the buyer activity look like in your neighborhood? Is there nothing for sale in your neighborhood? Would your home stick out right now and be the only house on the block and get a ton of attention. These are the kind of things I would be thinking about if I'm a seller. The other things you want to think about is if you're selling your home, where are you going? Do you have another place to go? Do you already own something else? Are you in a position where you need to buy something? Because while you might think, yeah, let's wait, and maybe the best strategy is in your circumstance to wait until spring or summer when activity always picks up regardless of market conditions, but in a year like this, especially when there's so much anticipation for mortgage rates to drop, is it better to wait until spring or summer? Well, it might be, but if you need to buy something, you need to consider that as well. Are you putting yourself as a future buyer in a position where it's going to be more difficult for you to buy? So these are things that if I'm a seller right now, I'm thinking about. Is my home ready? What's the advantage to possibly selling now? What's the advantage to waiting? Is that better for me financially? Am I putting myself in a situation where it's going to be tougher for me to buy something in 6 months? Or do I have the ability to buy something right now before all hell potentially breaks loose so that I don't need to worry about it when I sell my property in 6 months? These are the kind of things I'm thinking about as a seller. The other thing you should think about as a seller is having your home available to see. And what I mean by that is I'm still shocked at how many homes get listed, and it is very difficult for agents to show these homes to their buyers, right? Sometimes people will do very limited open houses. They don't allow showings during the week, or they make it so difficult for an agent to schedule a showing that you significantly reduce the amount of people that are going to come see your house. One thing to think about is think about it this way. If you're selling your home, imagine you were opening up a store, right? And at your store, you sell things and people come there to buy things from you. Now, if customers show up and your store is closed, right? They try to open the door and it's locked and no one's around. It's going to be very difficult for customers to buy things from your store if your store is closed. And if they look in the window and there's no sign that says hours of operation, or maybe it says come back Saturday between 1 and 3 p.m., the likelihood that everybody stopping by that store is going to come back at that time is pretty low. So one thing to think about is if there's two homes in a neighborhood, let's say home A and home B, and let's say home A, by all accounts, is just a better house than home B, and no one would deny that. It's more upgraded, it has a better view, it's a little bit bigger, the layout's better. But home B is not that bad. Let's say home B is right behind it, right? And many people would be happy to take home B if they couldn't get home A. If home A is only showing people the house, like at one open house for like 2 or 3 hours, while home B is doing open houses Saturday, Sunday, maybe 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., making it as easy as possible for agents to show their buyers the home during the week. Now remember, as agents, we have like a Bluetooth key access, so we can get into homes. You're not just letting random people come into your homes when they want. You can have this, this program basically shows who's going in your house, what time. I would be willing to bet home B is going to sell at a much higher price than home A, even though most people would rather buy home A. See, the thing is, you have to allow buyers to see your house. I don't know how many of you would spend millions of dollars on something you've never seen. As a seller, I don't know how comfortable I would be even accepting an offer from someone for millions of dollars for a house they haven't even seen yet. So if you're thinking of selling your home and you're not in a position right now for it to be available to be shown, do yourself a favor and put your house on the market at a time where people could come see it. If your goal is not to get like the most money possible for your home, then fine. Sell it when you want, let a few people in, and if you get the number you want, then you're great, you're in great position. But if you're trying to get multiple bids, if you're trying to get the most possible to put yourself, maybe this is your retirement money, maybe this is your nest egg, maybe this is money you're gonna leave to family, maybe this is the money you need to move to your next spot, the more people who could potentially see your home, the more money you're gonna get for it. So to wrap this up, current market conditions here in the South Bay in mid-February 2024, things are heating up. Things are already very competitive. We are in multiple offer situations. We are in homes hitting the market, being in contract within a few hours or a few days already. And it hasn't even really begun in terms of the spring and summer ramping up and this potential looming mortgage rate drop in the second half of this year, which could take a very competitive market to a super insanely competitive market. So that's what's going on here. If you have any questions about any of this, or you're thinking of moving here, you're thinking of selling here, you just want to have a conversation about what does that look like, what should I do, feel free to send me a text, call me, email me. If I can help you in any way, I'd be happy to do so. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.